Ladies, gentlemen, folks beyond the binary, grab your husband, wife, partner, mistress, but for the love of God, please leave your siblings at home and gather around your radio. It's time for this week's meeting of the Erotic Thriller Club.
Not rude or crude, he's always tastefully nude. In this hardcore world, he's a softcore dude. His antithesis, mysterious and dangerous. And oh yes, they've got all the sexiest movies out on VHS. So if you're fatally attracted to the racier stuff, Erotic Film Club. Basically, instinctively crave the salacious. Erotic Film Club. If you want a racy movie and you're too classy for smut, Erotic Film Club. We can watch them and discuss them all ad nauseam. Erotic Film Club.
In the 1950s, two incestuous lovers, a depraved suave journalist and his equally depraved prostitute sister, plan to get rich through seduction and murder. Things complicate when their feeble-minded mother begins to suspect something. This week on the Erotic Thriller Club, This World, Then the Fireworks. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's meeting of the Erotic Thriller Club. As always, Garrett Callender and Kit Ryan here.
And this is where we answer the genre's three most important questions. Was I aroused? Was I thrilled? And would I ruin my life for this person? Garrett, where did you find this insane movie?
I don't know. I do know. The answer's Plex. And
Yes, but how did you unearth?
so you know what you do is you click on a movie you've heard of, you
Uh-huh.
go down to the you might also like, get
Uh-huh.
way far down into one until you've seen one you haven't heard of. Then you
Uh-huh.
click that one and then go down to you all might also like from the weird one that you clicked first.
Okay, so you take advantage of the fact that the algorithm puts you into progressively weirder and weirder stuff. I love that for
Yeah.
us, because that got us this.
This is easily, I mean, I think
Mhm.
this beats Meridian.
You might be right.
But
It's buck wild.
I don't know yet, though. It's hard for me to say if this one lands itself into
Papa
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 G's
Garrett.
treasure chest of dog shit.
What makes you say that? You don't think this lands?
Well, before I want everyone to know, I did not write the description of the movie this week. That is the actual description I read that made my jaw fall to the floor
Mhm.
before the first just 2 minutes, 2 opening minutes of this movie knocked my full jaw off, and my tongue is just out just waggling like some sort of cartoon. It's a goddamn nightmare movie that, hear me out, this movie, as we talk about it for our listeners and for you as well, Kit, who
Mhm.
I told you not to look up anything, don't see the poster, you went full blind into this movie.
Yes. I gave my fiance the name of the movie and that it was on Plex and had him cue it up. So I did not even know who was in it. I knew absolutely nothing going in as per your request.
That's dangerous, and it's I love that you trust me enough to let that happen to you.
That's true. That's what these years of friendship have got you, is that level of trust. And
But
boy, did it pay off.
but this movie, as far as it being written, I want you to imagine as we discuss this movie, okay, Arkham Asylum, the
Mhm.
Joker is locked up and he's writing a comedy on a typewriter.
Yeah, yeah, that is very much the vibe because it is bonkers.
Is this a like did you
I'll tell you the
is it a
exact moment I
comedy?
realized. I'll tell you the
Yeah.
moment I realized it was a comedy. Okay, I have it written down. Okay. It was with about, I would say, 40 minutes, 30 minutes left in the movie when the cop is at the funeral and uh Billy Zane is all like, "What's this about?" And he's like, "It's about murder." And the orchestral sting comes in like, that's when I knew, like, oh, they're doing this on purpose. Okay, this is a comedy. Boy,
Yeah.
howdy, did it take a while for me to realize that any of this was intentional.
Yeah, and you mentioned names, so let's tell the people who's in this. This
Yes.
movie, 1997, this movie came out, stars Billy Zane, Gina
Mhm.
Gershon,
Mhm.
Cheryl Lee, who you might also know as Laura Palmer from Twin Peaks, and
Mhm.
fucking Rue McClanahan,
Blanche from Golden
Blanche
Girls.
from Golden Girls, whose face throughout this movie, what was that Johnny Depp movie where he had syphilis? The
Mm.
Libertine, where like his face is just gradually falling off throughout the movie.
Sloughing off. Yeah, yeah. That is kind of. They never specify what exactly is wrong with her, but it's a lot mentally, physically,
N-
emotionally.
But yeah, this movie, you mentioned the music.
Hmm.
The movie opens with just the opening credits, a lot of colors,
Very
and
70s, oddly enough, which is strange because this is set in the 50s, written in the 90s, and the credits are firmly in the 70s. With the, the very artistic fonts, no images, just words, very pretty. And then bam, what do we see?
well, after I hear like like bongos and saxophone
Uh-huh.
dominate this movie, it brings us to July 4th, 1926. We're celebrating two twins' golden birthday.
Mhm, mhm,
Mama's in the house with the twins, bringing them a birthday cake. It cuts to across the street where Papa's banging the neighbor.
mhm. And apparently this neighbor is the wife of a cop. And mom, I don't know, for whatever reason she looks out the window at just the right time. What is the quote about that? Did you write that down about like,
She must have suspected Dad's shenanigans.
no, it wasn't shenanigans. It was hijinks.
Hijinks, I'm sorry. Not that different.
Not that different.
I'm sorry. When you're talking about
Hijinks.
banging the neighbor's wife, shenanigans
That's
and hijinks
hijinks.
are interchangeable.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, she looks over at this moment and sees that the cop is pulling up and is about to walk into the house and see his wife in bed with
Yeah, he's pulling up as Papa's pulling out.
heyo. And I realize that your children are 4 years old and you can't like leave them home alone. But like you're just running across the street where there's about to be a confrontation between cop, your husband, cop's wife. Why would you bring the children? Do not bring the children with you. Let them just put their faces in that cake and you run. But no, she ran hand in hand. I thought she was running out of the house at first, that like the guy was going to shoot up their house and that's why they were running. But no,
There are
she's bringing
some
the children
actually
to the bad stuff.
yeah, there's a couple shots in this movie that are actually kind of victim of bad directing
Mm,
where you as the viewer don't really know what fully is happening when you should, when it's nothing that's a secret. Like this is not a secret that he's going in there. They are clearly crossing the street,
yeah.
but the way it's shot is just kind of shitty. But yeah, guy walks in, sees him banging his wife. They both pull guns. Right as guns are drawn, the mom and children walk in. Papa pulls shotgun, explodes this man's head all over his children's faces.
Yes. There's blood absolutely everywhere. And he describes it
Grotesque.
as,
It's
yeah,
gruesome.
it's
Yeah.
it's very gruesome, and yet the
Jazz.
kid is laughing. And Billy Zane describes it in retrospect as being funny because like dad's naked and this man had a head and now he doesn't, and he's laughing. And that, like, it's one thing for like a 4-year old who doesn't really understand what he's looking at to laugh, but mom's laughing too, with the blood of the cuckolded man on her face. And it's like, what is this movie?
and then it just picking up with the once again, the whole movie is narrated by Billy Zane, who is, just an absolutely insufferable man, but as he
Worse,
just
worse than in Titanic by far. He is more
yeah,
hateable here.
same year as Titanic, somehow a worse character. Oh, man, so handsome, though. Eh,
So true.
but in this moment, he goes, "Papa got the electric chair. That lady that he was having sex with committed suicide, and mama never fully recovered."
He's so chill. And then like bam, we're back to the credits. Sorry, like you just got to see fireworks, birthday party, sex, shooting, and now we're back to the credits. Like that scene needed to stand on its own with a perfect picture frame of like
Well, can't you now picture, like, just the Joker at his typewriter being like, "That was a hot open, and now the bongos."
yeah. Yes, I can.
'Cause it is truly horrific, especially because it is happening to a child. Like, it's not like you see, like, a trauma movie version of the head exploding, but you do see a child get the remnants of that shit
Get
all over
blood
himself.
all over the child. And
4. 4-year-old.
4 years old. And then I guess that's supposed to explain why he's such a gigantic a hole, like later in life. And he is so insufferable. Garrett, I wrote down some of the things this man says.
Yeah.
Uh, when I choose to, I can be exceedingly ingratiating. By comparison, these average people seemed like submoronic dolts. And the man is just you just sat there with a thesaurus, right? And he just picked out the words with the most syllables.
Well, the Joker actually co-wrote it with Thesaurus Man. He was locked up next to Calendar
Mm,
Man.
that actually makes a lot more sense.
No, the way he talks, like, it's like he's a faux intellectual.
Yes, 100%. And he is trying to overwhelm you with multisyllabic words so that you will assume that he is smart. When the things he is
And fuck
saying,
him.
well, you did. Here's the thing: he didn't need to do that. He's Billy Zane in 1997. He's already very handsome. He doesn't need to pretend to be smart for people
Yeah,
to
you
want to
don't
bone him.
well, he's got a lot of different bullets in the chamber, and, one of his other than just knowing big words,
Mm.
he is the king of 1950s negging.
Oh my god, yes. And slapping. Don't forget. He knows how to tell a woman that she's worthless and hit her, but not his wife for
But it
whatever
always leads to
reason.
Pound Town.
It always leads to Pound Town. The man cannot miss. Every woman falls at her feet for him.
He's a babe.
He is a
This is
babe.
maybe the sexiest man of any movie we've watched. I don't know if that's even debatable.
We see the fireworks inciting incident, right, of their childhood, and then they show another scene from their childhood where they're
Oof.
like teenagers, I guess. uh,
We introduced the twin magic.
the twin men, yeah, they have twin telepathy, of course. And when they're kids, that it works to alert him when she is in danger. It that doesn't seem to work so well in the future. There are multiple times where she is in distress as adults, and it does not alert him at all.
No, he can just sense when she's horny, and he knows when she is because just out of nowhere, a little bit of blood rushes to his penis.
And he's just like, "Oh, my sister's horny somewhere. My horny sense is tingling."
I must help.
I must help.
It
Yeah.
This scene though, when they're kids, it's I don't really even want to talk about it that much. It's because we're 2 minutes into the movie and we've seen a man's head explode onto two
Yeah.
children. And then we see them as early teens, almost teens, somewhere in there. They meet up with their cousins. The cousins lead, is it Carol? Carol's her name?
Yes.
To
Carol
this
is
field. they hold her down. A little boy in tidy whities comes to presumably rape her. Billy Zane rushes to the rescue and beats all of his family with a board.
Yes. You know
And
what's
now
weird is that, like, presumably everybody's bullying them because they know that these are weird twincest twins who want to have sex with each other, and that they are all weirded out by it. But they're her cousins, so is it really any? It's not that much better when you rape her. Like, you're just doing different incest
do
and
you really wanna open a
non-consensual incest.
conversation on how far down the family tree is the
Yes, yes,
least
I
icky?
do. Yes, yes, I do. This is I no, this is not. No, I don't. I lied.
I d you like, this yeah, we could turn this into 5 minutes that I maybe cut out. It
Oh,
that made me lose my train of thought, Kit. That was a thought
sorry.
that should have stayed in your head.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right, so both twins grow up, and apparently they both marry way down. Billy Zane has, and I'm just gonna be,
Yeah, be blunt.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna be blunt because I'm gonna treat the movie exactly the way, treat the woman the way the movie treats her. She is fat and ugly. She is very fat and made a and very ugly, and Billy Zane looks so hilariously handsome as he kisses her, and they've got their perky little son there together living in Chicago, my hometown. He's actually really nice to her. Like later when asked why he married his 400-pound wife, as he calls her, he's
She
like,
was
well,
not even
doesn't she?
close to 400, just so the
No, not
listeners
even
know.
close.
He basically describes it as like, "Don't fat people deserve love too?"
Yeah, it's like he's done charity. He's really proud of himself, I think, in many ways. But he's like, yeah, she deserves love.
However, he treats this keep in mind, I'm about to say this about a woman and child that he fully abandons to
Yes,
only ever in passing mention one more time throughout this movie.
yeah,
This is the nicest he treats a woman in the entire movie, and the only woman in this movie he doesn't hit.
yes, yeah, yeah. Well, he never met a woman he didn't want to slap across the face, except for his wife, I guess, and that's why he married her.
It's a really bizarre situation. I mean, it really is like
Maybe he
it
feels
is
being
setting
ugly is punishment enough, and him hitting her would just be like too mean. Like that's.
don't try and get in the head of the Joker as he wrote this.
I don't. You're right. I don't want to be in
Because
Billy Zane's character's head.
Billy Zane's character, and I truly mean this, like there are so many things that if anybody knew about this movie would be fully memed. There are so many meme scenes.
Oh God, yeah, the
This is
yay
a Nicolas Cage
verilies.
role that Nicolas Cage didn't get.
I am shocked. I was shocked when I went on IMDb, and there are so many quotes that are meme worthy, and none that did not make it onto the IMDb quotes page. Like, we had to write them down
Well,
because.
it sucks because they are full page monologues,
Oh yeah, yeah.
like
Theater kids should be doing
wild
this.
monologues.
Should be performing this. I wish we had seen this movie back when we were in school and we had those like Friday night late night performances where people could just go do whatever they wanted on the stage,
Oh
and
yeah.
you know, people would do their own weird poetry or scenes from Saturday Night Live or whatever, and someone could have done these monologues and it would have been incredible.
There's a moment in this where he like goes full cage, and there has to be a gif of this where he's just like, "Yes! Yes!" after he murders a man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Like when this character is so insane that the
Yes.
things that like his brain is just a
Mm.
bunch of pictures with strings connecting
It
everything
is. It
that like
absolutely is. Like when he goes off on his tangent about taxes and how people should be taxed by their
whoa.
bowel movements. What what are we doing
Guys,
here?
and it seems like he's joking in this scene, and so does the other character, and he gets absolutely furious
He's
when
so
that she
yes.
doesn't take his shit tax serious.
Yeah, his idea being like the fairest way to tax people would be based on bowel movements, because then you could just not eat to not have to pay taxes, and poor people would naturally be taxed less than rich people because rich people would eat more and then shit more, and then like he has this whole logic, and the woman he's telling this to is laughing hysterically, and I'm like, we're it's because it's hilarious, and then he gets mad because no, he was serious. And this is a man who really genuinely believes he is smarter than everyone else around him. He thinks that he is beautiful mind over here, but his beautiful mind, instead of all the numbers, is about bowel movement taxes.
Honestly, this movie is like if one of the It's Always Sunny cast was really as deranged as they truly could be. This is Dennis.
Yes,
This is
yes.
Dennis from It's
Taking
Always Sunny in a '50s noir
yes.
cranked up to 100.
Absolutely. 100%. Only more murder, I guess. And fucking your twin sister.
And so, yeah, he's never gonna sleep with D. Uh,
Mhm.
this guy, I mean, Gina Gershon, Bound came out, what, just a year before this or something?
Something like, yeah.
She's beautiful. Gina
She's
Gershon,
gorgeous.
but they take that away from you so
Mm.
fast. Let's get him out of
Okay,
Chicago
so
so we can
so
get to that.
he's meeting with a source about he's a journalist, and he's meeting with a source about a corrupt cop that he wants to take down. The he goes to the bathroom, and some guys burst in and shoot his short source. And then the guy, as he's there bleeding out, the two gunmen are like, "Hey, wasn't there supposed to be another guy he was meeting with?" And the guy laying there bleeding out on the floor is like, gives him up. It's like, yeah, he's in the bathroom. I mean, he doesn't say it, but he's like looking pointedly in that direction. Like, why would you do that?
That guy, though, can I
Hmm.
point out that actor?
Yeah.
Because we collected a set. So we did
Oh.
Body Double,
Hmm.
and the assistant director of the real movie inside the movie was one of the guys who stole Cameron's dad's car in Ferris Bueller.
Uh huh.
This was the other guy.
No kidding. Oh, it is
So we
a
got
little
them both
matched
now.
set. That's nice.
And
Uh,
we've got Laura Palmer in this, and then in Meridian we had Cheryl Lynn
that's
Finn
true.
from Twin Peaks as well. So I really like that we're
We're
creating sets of
collecting.
actors from movies and things.
It is nice. So his life is in danger, and he gets framed for committing a crime, and so he's got to leave town. So he heads to California to move in with his mom and his sister. Sister has moved there because she is going through a messy divorce with her very rich husband that apparently when she married him he was a schlub and a nobody, and she built him up and helped him get his life back together, and his rich family took him back, and then he dumped her, and so she's back living with mom, and he's so excited to be there, to be home, and mom is acting so weird.
Well, so in this movie, I think one of the craziest things about it is they're fucking.
Yes.
They know they're fucking.
Yes.
Everybody in the town knows these two are
Yes.
fucking.
Yes.
They don't think we know. They
No, they
think they are
don't.
so sly.
So sly, which is really funny when you realize that his sister's bedroom is literally attached to the mom's bedroom, and you know they were making noise this whole time. But yeah, she like compliments him on how like charming and talented and smart he is, and slaps him at the same time. And mom is clutching her Bible and begging him, like,
Please eat
don't get
eggs and
into
don't fuck your
please,
sister.
please don't. She doesn't say those words, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, please don't get into trouble. And this is Blanche, by the way, with the weirdest makeup. I like it looks vaguely like her skin is sloughing off. I'm gonna be honest. This woman is clearly
It
unwell.
it's weird that we're yelling at Blanche so much in this movie because of any of the Golden Girls, the Golden Girl who's most likely to find herself in this exact situation
Mm,
is
mhm.
Blanche.
That is true. But yeah, you
Bit of a
definitely find
hussy, that
yourself
one, if
on
you remember.
on mom's side here. Is you're like, please, yeah. Don't go upstairs and immediately fuck your sister as soon as you get into town. Please don't.
Can't wait though. He's been on a bus for like 50 hours probably.
Yeah, and his mom is like, "You could bring your family here and get them set up. That would be nice." No, absolutely not. We're never
Oh,
thinking about them again.
he was so hot, but I bet he was covered in that travel stink. Wearing
Oh
a
god.
full suit on a Greyhound bus
Oh.
from Chicago to wherever in
And everyone
California.
is so sweaty in this movie all the time. So yeah, there was no way that that was any, and we see her bathing shortly thereafter and not him.
He reads a book and bathes his sister. But when
Yeah.
we first see his sister, if they don't, they're like, we don't want you to have a second to maybe find it in the back of your head that you're okay with what's about to happen between these two. This woman, Gina Gershon, what she has to be in her I mean, I know in the movie we're 30 years later, so they're supposed to be 34, but they're
Mhm.
probably maybe in real life a little younger than that. Or at least she would be. She's sucking her thumb while
Yeah.
she sleeps. She sucks her thumb throughout this movie,
Yeah.
and I hate it.
I hated it.
I
I
hated it.
I I hated it so much.
He gets in there quick though. Like, I just love his mom is begging him to eat breakfast, clutching a Bible, just like, "For the love of God, eat some fucking toast. Just
Eat
eat the
toast.
fucking
Eat
toast.
toast instead of having sex with your sister. I swear,
Just go in the bathroom,
please.
jerk off, and see if you still want to. For the maybe you won't want to."
Well, I'm sorry, but when your sister looks like Gina Gershon, like, what are you gonna do?
Like, she wakes up with her thumb in her mouth and a titty out,
Yeah,
and
yeah. That
and
is the
he's
first shot we see of her. Thumb
and
in
he
mouth, tit
titty
out.
out. He puts the titty away, but then she wakes up and immediately takes his hand and's like, "No, no, titty back out. You
Titty
get
back out. Yeah. So she's apparently working as a prostitute because the alimony is not a lot, and she casually mentions that like she's been hassled by local gangsters who want a cut of her profits, and she like poisoned slash drugged them and left them out in the woods, and she seems pretty pleased with herself about this whole turn of events.
Yeah, the one of the what's funny is, like, I mean, we don't know what I guess it's drugs, maybe morphine seems to be the drug we're poisoning people with a lot in this movie. These
Yeah.
mobsters are lost in the woods for a full week
Yes.
before anyone finds them. One of them gets, committed to an insane asylum, and the other one is just deceased as the
I
insane one
assume
drags his naked body through the woods.
Yes. I assume through exposure, right? Like they were naked out there in the woods for a week. So that could kill you for sure.
The huskier guy lived too, probably because,
Mm.
you
Extra
can
body fat to
yeah.
store against the cold makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so now she doesn't get hassled by gangsters anymore. So she's got that going for her. Oh, sorry, did you have something?
I just there was a music cue during her dealing with the gangsters again where, like, she has full murdered somebody, and it goes back to real, like, boop boo loot doot doot doot.
Yeah, the music and the very deeply unnatural accents and patter that are used when people are talking, and the language, it helps like every now and then like jostle you out of the moment, like you're watching a freaking Brecht play and it's like, no, we're not taking this seriously, and you're like, but are you? And they're like, no, 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 we know this is all over the top
It's
on purpose. We're doing this for a
it's just a
reason.
really unsettling piece of cinema with a
Yes.
real "how the fuck did this get made" kind of feel
Yes.
to it, where I can't say it's never boring because it dips into boring, but like we said, it will shock like, you'll be bored and think, "This kinda sucks," and then something so shocking happens that you're just immediately
What?
right back in,
Yeah.
and then you
And when
get
I
hit with a bongo, and you
well, it's based on a short story, right? So like I can see why they ended up padding it with stuff so that it ends up feeling kind of meandery, because it does. It gets weirdly meandering at points, and like 30 minutes in there's no plot. Like there's no sense of what the actual through line of this movie is going to be, other than, hey, these two sure are fucking, aren't they?
You're right though. Like even by the end, I don't think that the plot, like I put plot in quotes, like it's such a who gives a fuck
Mhm.
thing that they're trying to accomplish. And in the grand scheme of the deaths and the weirdness of the movie, their end game, and maybe it's just because it's such a low amount of money for 2024
What,
that
the $30,000? Well, it's $300,000 or $350,000 in nowadays money, which still doesn't seem like you're not going to live off that for the rest of your life. That's not, easy street after that. I mean, it's a
that's a
good
real,
amount of
those are
money.
Dr. Evil just became unfrozen numbers.
$1 million.
Is this where okay, no, you're right. He gets the job at the
He
paper.
gets
Well,
the job at
let's
the
start there.
paper, and he is immediately, because he's from a big Chicago newspaper, the best person in the newspaper room, and everyone else hates him because he's so good that he makes the boss get on everybody else's ass for not being as good as him. And he's fine with all of this until the moment that his boss invites him in to offer him a promotion. He's like, okay. Well, listen, that guy that was your manager above you, he's not very good, and I fired him, and I want to offer you his job for like $80 a week. What do you think about that? And
You've
Billy
never seen
Zane,
a boss almost cry at the response to offering somebody a promotion.
yeah, because he says instead, I quit. I quit. And his reasoning is sort of because, like, it kind of makes sense when
It
he
makes
points out
sense.
that, like, you want me to do for $80 what this guy was, you were paying $112 a week to do, right? Like, you just want me to do more work and not have to pay me as much as you paid this guy. And but he also says that it's like because he doesn't want anybody to think that they know him and that they have him figured out. And it's like, what do you mean, dude? You're so full of yourself. You think you're so mysterious, and your motives are so unknowable. Your motives are you want to make enough money to live off of, and you want to fuck your sister. Your motives are not that complex. All right.
No, but him saying that is also kind of the way this movie is. It's like the movie doesn't want you to figure it out or feel comfortable. Like it
Yeah.
wants you to like be a little on your toes because just as soon as you're like this sucks, it sucks in a different way.
Yes. Yeah. So true. So Garrett, would you like to give us a dramatic reading of the first monologue that we get? He informs his boss that boss has broken commandment -1.
Commandment -1 is a big deal for him in this movie.
Mhm.
When you hear him bring up commandment -1, you know
Mm.
you're about to get yell monologued at.
Oh yeah.
I don't have it.
You don't have it?
I
Oh.
couldn't find it online. I
I
wanted to do
I paused and I had the subtitles on and I wrote it down word for word. So he's like, it's commandment -1, by the way, because it is so obvious that it shouldn't even need to be written down.
Kit, I need you to get in the zone.
Okay.
You're insane. What are your
Hmm.
motives? A house. That's it.
Hmm. I want a
Okay,
house. I want to fuck my
and
sister.
scream at this man.
Yea, verily, it is the pointed moral of all happening from the beginning of creation, to wit, take not advantage of thy neighbor with his pants down, for to each man there comes this season. And in my house there are many mansions, and in those mansions there are many men longer donged than thyself.
And at this point, I'm not joking. The boss, tears in his eyes, says, this man is circling him, screaming,
At
touching
one
him.
point, he's grabbing his face while he is standing behind his seated boss, grabbing the man's face so that he is covering mouth and partially nose. So this man is probably finding it difficult to breathe as this guy yells this insane shit to him.
Man with tears in his eyes responds, "What the hell are you talking about?" Which is fair.
Fair! I just
He's like, "I
offered
don't
you a
know."
promotion.
I offered him $80 and then he yelled at me about his dick is smaller than some other people's. And
Or maybe he's talking about my dick. It was not clear.
whose dick? Whose dick was
I
he
don't know.
yelling
His dick is small.
about? I'm going home. Hold my calls.
So he storms out of the office, and, now
He fucks a
a
street cop.
yeah, a
What's
woman
that?
sees him, a blonde woman, Laura Palmer, sees him sitting on a park bench outside the newspaper and is just like clearly so instantaneously overcome with horniness. Like her
Mhm.
body convulses when she lays eyes on Billy Zane.
That's her lip quivering.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
He's got
It's
great hair.
and
That
he
guy has just such a good head. Ugh,
He
I wanna
really
pinch his
does.
cheeks.
And he starts immediately, he recognizes, like, oh, she wants to have sex with me. So he starts harassing
I'm gonna
and
steal her house.
manhandling and negging her to the extreme. He is giving her he's like he forcibly grabs her and like sits her down next to him. He is as mean to her as he can possibly be, and then eventually like walks, like he follows her to,
She reveals I'm a police officer.
yeah, she reveals she's a police officer and he's like, I don't care. Seems to
She
me
might
like,
actually be the worst police officer of any of the as he is the most handsome man in any of the movies, she is the worst police officer of any of these movies.
I don't know about that. I mean, Cruisin' had some pretty terrible cops.
Okay, Kit, you're a police officer. Even if the most handsome man you've ever seen and you're quivering, your pants are soaked,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
your lady cop skirt, whatever you're wearing in the 1950s, you go to leave because he's been so awful to you and you're a little afraid. He follows you into your car
Yep.
and just spouts threats at you.
Hmm.
And then when you are a little afraid, still pretty horny though, say, "Do you want to go have coffee?" And he's like, "No, we're going to go fuck at your house."
And
And
she's
then
like, well, we could go talk and have a drink at my house. And he's like, yeah, 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 we can do that after we fuck. And she's like, but then you wouldn't respect me and I wouldn't respect myself. And he's like, well, then I'm leaving then. And then she follows him and is like, yes, we can fuck. I want to fuck you so bad.
it's almost the 9.5 weeks staircase scene,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
in broad daylight,
In the
even
50s.
though we've established from him in dialogue that 1950s police ladies aren't allowed to be married. Like, basically, only single ladies
I
can be
guess in the same
cops.
way that, like, I don't know why that would be the case, but
Just
like
less
they had
rights.
weird rules for things like that. Like with the teachers, you weren't allowed, like they'd fire you if you got pregnant because God forbid you have to explain to children where babies come from. But yeah, he's like, we're gonna use them handcuffs, and she's like, hell yes. Here's the thing, Garrett. I think she may not be the worst cop though.
Okay.
I have a theory that
Yeah.
this whole thing she is in control of from the very beginning, that she knows exactly what she's doing. And every time she acts afraid, every time she's quivering lips, all planned, all on purpose. She's even better at this than he is.
That does kind of seem to be the case, but do you think the Joker knew that when he was writing it? This is a
No,
movie
I
about him
don't.
fucking, like, Bruce Wayne, but then Batman pops out at the end. Like, it turns out he is the world's greatest detective.
He is. Um, so yeah, they go back to her place, which is this nice little beach house, and there's boobies and there's handcuffs and the
And
camera
negging.
more nagging. The camera loves them titties, by the way. It does a lot of zooms in and it'll pan down and then pan back up and zoom in again on them boobies.
that cameraman, the cinematographer,
Mhm.
everyone should have been embarrassed by that shot.
Yes.
It's almost seemed like accidental, but not really. Like, it's almost like we caught the cameraman being a little too horny.
Yes, it did feel like that. Like, "Ooh, you naughty boy, we got you." Would you like to discuss their pillow talk afterwards? Because it's by far the weirdest we've ever heard.
Is this you mean what happens before or after talking about his fat wife and her elephantitis
Yes,
and
fat wife,
his chubby
elephantitis,
son
his
who's
chubby son.
missing pieces?
Yeah, I don't know what he meant by that exactly, but w- he did say that. No, it was the part where he mentions that his first child had to be killed at birth because he was, and I quote, a mongoloid.
Yeah, we did use that word.
Yeah, we did. This is what he has just met this woman. They have just had sex. And he's like, "Yeah, I got a 400-pound wife with elephantitis and a son, and it's a good thing that son got born okay because we're mostly okay because we had to murder our infant for being a mongoloid." This is the conversation, the pillow talk, the post coitus. I just like my brain could not wrap around this. Could your like I was I my jaw was like yours after the first 2 minutes. It was on the floor.
Well, keep in mind during this portion of the writing, the Joker is in a full straight jacket, laying on his back in a padded cell, laughing maniacally at the ceiling, and this scene is playing in his head.
Yeah.
Because once again, folks, this film is a comedy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Never forget,
Never forget.
because that isn't the worst
Always.
thing that happens in the rest of this movie.
Oh God, no. So then we see him walking around with his sister, and he's like, "Yeah, yeah. So, her brother owns this house, and we're scheming up a little plot that she and I are like, I'm gonna have her fall in love with me. Pretty close to that already. Not gonna be a problem. And then we'll come up with a scheme together where." She'll tell her brother that there's a buyer for the house so that he'll sign the deed over to me, and then I can kill the brother, and then we'll take it from there. So that's the scheme, is that he's
I've
gonna
been
try to
married to Yeah, I've had weirder marriages.
I've
If I
had
just have to be married to Laura Palmer for $30,000,
I don't
whatevs.
think he even was planning on marrying her. That would be bigamy, Garrett. He's already married. I think
Yeah,
his
it was definitely
plan
just gonna
was
be his
just
money.
Yeah, I think the plan was that he was going to get the house from her, sell the house his own self, take the $30,000, and then just abandon her. And
Mhm.
his theory was that she would be so miserable over what had happened that she would kill herself, and that would solve that problem for him. That was the plan. That's the
He's a
plan.
one of the greatest thinkers of our time.
Absolutely. He then notices that there's a private investigator following his sister, and because this movie is a comedy and everyone knows fat jokes are the funniest of jokes, we have a lot of visual gags with this PI because
And audio.
yeah, he is overweight, and boy howdy does he not like walking upstairs. Oh no, he's
He
so sweaty.
It's funny, like, with Rue McClanahan, this guy, some of the mobsters from earlier, they really kind of grow, and the wife at the beginning, the makeup department really goes out of their way to amp up the grotesqueness
Yes.
of people that aren't the most fuckable twins in the world.
Yeah, everyone in this world except the fuckable twins and Laura Palmer has to be grotesque.
This guy, he kind of has like a boss hog from Dukes of
Yes.
Hazzard look about
Hmm.
him, and there's a lot of chins, and every little bit a fart squeaks out of him as they have a conversation.
Yeah, there's actual fart jokes that just pass by. Yeah.
Hit them bongos.
There's also some really weird things where it's like I get the feeling this movie, like I know it was written in the 50s or near to that time, but it doesn't seem like it wants to be set in the 50s, but it really wants that 50s aesthetic of like the little
Everyone wanted to
gingham
do a
dresses.
voice.
Everybody wanted to do with the little voice. They wanted to have the noir, the neo noir filming. But like, there are some things that are so absolutely incongruous. God, what am I turning into Billy Zane? I'm using multisyllabic words that don't make sense. Like there's a sex shop downtown in whatever town this is, which it doesn't make sense entirely if it's supposed to be a large or small town because it's got a shitty little newspaper, but also it's big enough to have uh its own dedicated mobsters here.
It really has the vibe of a small town, which also was confusing too because, like, it's not gonna be a surprise that this is the town's hooker, that his sister is
Yeah.
just, like, on the street corner and in the same bar every night, like, word is gonna
Yeah, that's the thing
spread.
is she's posts up at this one bar. But yeah, there's a sex shop that has like on full display in the window a mannequin with like a sexy lingerie and holding handcuffs and wearing a leather mask type thing. And it's like, I don't think that they would just put that in the window in the 50s. Maybe I'm wrong. I wasn't there. But it does feel strange. A lot of the makeup choices, like they also went for like the bold 50s red lip, but all the eye makeup is very 90s. I, point is, none of that matters because we're about to get to commandment -1, section A.
Oh my god. So, yeah, this PI that's following has been hired by her ex-husband. Her brother goes in pretending to be an associate of the ex-husband, and what really sets him off is when the PI says, "Well, if I wasn't gonna do this job, somebody else would."
Yeah, he even says, like, I think that this lady got a bad rap. She did so much for this man, and as soon as he's on top again, he throws her out and gives her syphilis and then divorces her for having syphilis. And so she doesn't deserve what's happening, which is that he's almost certainly doing this so that, like, paying me to follow her so he can catch her doing bad things so that he can lower the amount of alimony he's paying. And she doesn't deserve that. And he's like, well, Billy Zane is like, well, why are you doing it then? And his response is, well, if I didn't do it, someone else would. I'm just doing my job.
And if you're wondering, that does mean he broke commandment -1.
Yeah. Section A. Don't
Section A
forget.
this time. Yeah, yeah, this is
Yeah.
monologue so well.
You
Oh,
ready?
you got this one written down too, hell yeah.
Oh, of course
Are you
I
gonna
do.
do the big the big, GIF at the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Yea, verily, so saith the Lord. Better a blind man who's pissing through an open window than the knowing servant who opens it for him. And, and then he shakes hands with the dude and is about to walk out and slams the dude's head onto the desk into one of those little paper poker things.
It's like what
Straight,
a server would put the ticket
yeah,
through, like
straight
the
through his eyeball.
yes!
Yep,
Yes!
yep.
And the
First,
way this is shot is like, once again, the full tone of the movie changes. We're in a different movie now.
yes.
Now we are actually in a trauma movie where we are looking at grotesque violence
Yeah, it's
and
got a close
extreme
up
close up. Yeah.
on the makeup job. They're very proud of their makeup work on this because they've got the thing going through the eye in a way that, by the way, it would mean this dude would absolutely not die from this. But it's not
It
puncturing
looked
his brain at
livable.
all. It looked very livable. But it also, the whole sequence of it, of him like having this handshake and then this power play and the struggle, and then you get cut to both their faces as they're like sweating and like grimacing as he's pulling him down onto the desk, and it's like, hey buddy, You got two hands. You could use the other one to grab your goddamn gun. Or to just slap this dude across the face. Or anything other than just letting him one handedly pull you down onto a pokey thing
I
through
called
your
it a
eye.
paper spike. I didn't know what
I have
else
no
this thing
idea
would be
what that
called.
thing is called.
But as this man dies, falls backwards on the desk and lets out
Hmm.
his death rattle,
Hmm.
of course, one more fart squeaks out of his dead body.
Absolutely. And Billy Zane takes a couple pictures with the camera. Not sure why,
Well,
just for funsies, I guess.
as far as I don't know what investigating crimes looked like in the 50s. Now there was so much DNA all over that
Oh yeah,
room
well they didn't have that
that
back
he'd get
then.
caught. But back then,
I
they're
didn't
just
know
like,
that they
well,
even
somebody
had.
sure got him.
Somebody sure did.
I should have looked
Uh,
up if fingerprinting was even. It had to have been because Sherlock Holmes is always dust and shit. This guy,
they did have
absolutely.
it, but I don't think they had a super good database or any way of like
Mm,
comparing them. But like they could have taken Billy Zane's fingerprints, I think, and then looked at the ones
we
on the
might have
camera.
gotten there down the road.
We might have gotten there down the road. All right, so he goes home and mom's mad. Um and there's clearly the tension of like, what does she know? Does she know I killed a man today? No, she's mad you quit your job. She heard about that and she's like, you need to be more responsible. How could you do something so stupid? And he's like, what right do you have to tell me what to do? You're not a great mom. And she's like, why? That clearly hurts her feelings. She's starting to
Yeah,
cry here at the dinner table.
a
And
little spoon of morphine is.
Gina's microaggressive bite, by the way, is one of the. I cackled when she took a bite of this ham and pineapple so sassily with this head cock. It's just so good. She's perfect at reacting to her brother roasting mom. And then, yeah, mom's so distraught she can't even get up from the table by herself. So they take her up there and they give her a little medicine to help her sleep.
To be fair, few parents ever catch a spanking like these two twins are in a constant state of giving her.
Yeah,
And how bad their life is isn't necessarily her fault. Bringing them into that room at the beginning was a poor
it was a
decision.
poor decision, but it's I wouldn't say it's her fault. She
It's
didn't.
not her
It's also
fault.
not her fault that her husband got the electric chair, or any of those things that added up to a lifetime of trauma.
She just wants to make her kids breakfast, them have steady jobs, and them not fuck each other.
I don't think that's too much to ask, is it? Like, I
It's a
know
pretty low bar.
some parents have way too high of expectations for their children. She just wanted them to have jobs and not fuck each other, and they couldn't even manage that. How dare you treat Blanche this way?
Does Blanche know that she's a prostitute? She doesn't, right? Even
I
though,
don't
like,
think she knows that her daughter's a prostitute. I think she thinks that she is living off the alimony and like goes on a lot of dates. But it's not clear she knows that. I don't think she does though that her daughter's a prostitute.
so from this point on in the movie, it is a lot of there are kind of some similarities to 9.5 weeks in the way
Yeah,
Billy Zane is treating Lois, Laura Palmer. It's a
except it's
lot of
even more explicit that like the worse he treats her, the hornier she gets. Like it is so clear that I mean, in 9.5 weeks, she doesn't enjoy. Like it's not on her face that she's like, "Ooh, the more you tell me I'm a horrible slut and you hate me and I don't deserve anything and hit me, the more my panties are flooded." But this woman clearly, like, it's throwing Billy Zane off at first that, like, how come I keep slapping her and she keeps wanting to have sex with me?
it is you're right. He is like it actually bothers him. that she's
Yeah.
so into this. It's good. He knows this is gonna make it harder to get rid of her after he
Yeah.
steals this money, and, he's throwing her on a car like he's going to assault her, and she's like, "Yes, daddy."
Yes, daddy. And he's like, I'm gonna fuck you out here and leave you for the neighbor kids to see when they're playing jacks. And she's like, oh hell yes.
Oh,
You can do
goosh.
whatever you want. He tears her shirt like it's made of tissue paper, and she is so here for it. And I'm like, this poor woman, you just needed to be born in a different era where you could have found yourself a nice daddy who would have done all this stuff with better communication so that he would know when you do and don't want your hair pulled. Because sometimes she loves it when her hair's being pulled, and sometimes she doesn't. And
But then
that's
it's
fair.
when she doesn't want it, it re-triggers something in her brain that makes her want it even more.
Yes, it does seem to. There's some sort of loop in her brain that
The
is
funniest
not
part
functioning correctly.
the funniest part of this scene, though, is, like, he is degrading her, he is, like, had a light sex in on there, and then eventually, after all that, he's just like, "Oh my god, let's just go inside and I'll fuck you regular
And
in
we'll
a
just go
bed."
inside.
But she's walking ahead of him, and the camera's kind of far away, and you see him put his foot on her ass and kick her out of frame, and the
Yes,
sound you hear, you don't see it, but you know what that sound is her falling in a bush.
yes,
And that's wildly hilarious that he's just like, "Well, I can do anything now," and just, like, shoves her in a bush.
yeah. And
And
all this is started because she's like, "Hey, your sister walks around in fancy dresses and seems like she's got a lot of money. Why can't we just ask her for the money instead of cheating my brother out of the money?" No,
you love
he's
your
not.
brother, don't you? You wanna fuck your brother, you nasty little doe-eyed slut, you copulating cop. His words, not mine.
See what I mean though about like you used stupid words to make yourself sound smart. Doe-eyed
But
slut though is that's a good one. I'm gonna call John that from now on.
but as you see them progress, like, you see Lois becoming a less well-rounded person. Now she's drunk all the time, she's always calling out of work, she's smoking cigarettes inside,
They're taking
basically
all the
never leaves
pictures off the
lingerie.
wall. Yeah, taking all the pictures off the wall and using them as like clay pigeons. They're just
Skeet
tossing
shooting on
them
the
on the
beach.
yeah, tossing them on the beach and then shooting them with rifles. By the way, which is not the usual thing you would use in such a scenario, but that's fine. But yeah, she never is going to wear full clothes again. She's always strutting her ass out for him, and honestly, it seems like a lot of fun. It's fun in the way the 9.5 weeks seemed fun at times.
But in the middle of all of this and the bowel movement tax and slapping her
Yep.
around, like, it's a lot of this. Like, it gets a little repetitive with how much we're just abusing Lois. Like, I get it. I get it. She's different. We fucked this woman up. She's a different person. She's just along for the ride and will do anything.
Yeah.
Occasionally a little question, but then not. We get a call from his sister,
Hmm.
and we have
But
to go
but first
visit.
she asks the question though.
Oh,
Do
she's just
you
like, "You're
love me?
fucking her."
Do you
Oh, that
love
one.
me more than you love your sister? And he's like, those are two entirely different things. And she's like, say it. Say that you love, and he's like, oh, I wouldn't ask you if you love me more than your brother. And she's like, I do love you more than I love my brother. I love you more than anyone and anything, and I want you to say that back to me. And I'm kind of on his side because like even those of us who are not fucking our family members would say that like you can't ask me if I it's like asking if I love you more than I love my mom. Those are very different things. This is not a fair question. You're a psychopath if you ask someone to answer that. And that's part and then she says, "I think you're fucking her." And she gives a stellar performance here because she starts sobbing, crying, begging forgiveness. She does that little like choke sob thing as she's like
"Take my car. Just take my car. You can have it.
yeah, she's just begging him for
Love me."
forgiveness. Yeah. 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 And it's because he does get the call from the sister that's like mom's in trouble and had a minor heart attack. This is all cover. And so I need you to come here right away. And she's like, don't you dare. I hate you. You're fucking your sister. And I'm like, there is so much evidence that he is fucking his sister. He absolutely is fucking his sister. You picked the one thing that he's done that is not indicative that he is fucking his sister, which is getting a call from her that your mom is hurt and you need to go help out. That is like the idea that that's your killer piece of evidence. I arrest my case, your honor. Your This man is fucking his sister is terrible. So yeah, she
And
ends up crying and being like, no, I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it. How could I even have said such a thing?
and even as you describe that scene and it sounds insane, this is kind of a little boring lull where you're
Mm-hmm.
just like, you think you know where shit is headed, and then it
Yes.
takes us to this scene where it pulls you back into just
Okay, so
insanity.
Garrett, at this point in the movie, what did you think the rest of the movie was going to be? Before he got the call from the sister, what did you think was going to be the plot?
I assume that they were just gonna end up with her money, probably her car, drive off together, and just live happily ever after somewhere else until they have to do it again to someone else in a different town.
I assumed it was going to be more of a Cruel Intentions style thing where he like does fall for her because she's the only person who likes it when he slaps her, and like that is throwing him off enough that he is like actually going to fall for her. It's sort of Cruel Intentions style. And then the sister's going to get jealous, and then that will
Oh,
cause some kind of conflict, and maybe they end up in some kind of trouble over this, and either he or the sister dies. But yeah, I saw it as being something like that. Um, we were both completely incorrect
yeah.
because shit's about to get somehow even weirder. So, where is his sister actually right now?
His sister's with a John. She is
Hmm.
with some real estate guy that she's brought to fuck on a
Not real
bearskin
estate.
rug.
It's way better than real
Oh,
estate.
life insurance agent.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Life insurance agent who she is there to fuck on a bearskin rug.
Hell
And
yeah.
she's having her regular fornication with
Yep.
him and just, just working the cum out. It's just a massage. But
Hmm.
then in the middle of having sex with this man,
She starts
starts to have
coming.
flashbacks to her whole life.
Yeah.
Watching that man get that man get murdered in front of her when she's
Hmm.
4, fucking her brother, and she gets wildly horny,
Yeah.
and she fucks this man until his whole body explodes.
Yeah.
Am I describing that wrong? He's got a lot of blood coming out of holes, but it's also shot from a terrible angle where it seems like she might be eating him.
I thought the same thing. I was like, did she turn into a vampire? The angle on it, you can't see her face, and there's blood everywhere because her face is buried in the John's neck. And so, like, when she comes up for air and her face is covered in blood, you're like, I think she ate him. I think she goddamn ate him. But then it seems like
However,
no, that's not what happened. He had like a brain aneurysm while he was inside her, and her PTSD flashback that made her orgasm had her fuck him to death.
she does not realize for a really long time. Like, I don't even know. I know on this, we do a lot of when a shot lingers too long in something that makes you uncomfortable, how many Mississippis? How many
Mm-hmm.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi?
Mm-hmm.
How many Mississippis did she fuck a dead man on camera while we watched her fuck a corpse?
I don't know, because I'm not sure exactly at what point in the process he died.
Well, it's more than 3 Mississippis, I'll
It's
tell you that.
absolutely more than 3 Mississippis, during which she is like buried in his neck, covered in his blood, with him
Yeah.
still inside her, riding that tiger.
And when Billy Zane comes in, we do get to see this man's little flaccid
Yeah,
dead
we get to,
penis.
this is the only penis we get to see in this movie, and boy howdy, is it just It's
just
just
sitting
there.
there.
It's just sitting there.
Just sitting there to be observed in a way that every man hopes their penis is never observed. This is why I am worried when I die how unimpressive it's going to look to the person who finds my
I
dead
don't don't you
fucked
aren't you supposed
corpse
to
on the
get
bearskin rug.
okay, like, so presumably he didn't come, right? Or did he? Because, like, she was still riding him. So I don't know
You
if
trying
his
to tell me
penis
if
would
you
still
die with an
be.
erection, it stays that way forever?
That's my question. I don't know.
Well, you have to imagine. Okay, maybe. Now, hear me out. You know, like your body
Uh huh.
evacuates your bowels when you pass.
Yes.
You pay your taxes um,
Mm
after
hmm.
that
Mm hmm.
happens. But if you're already cocked and loaded and there's that far in the chamber, does it just shoot? And is what happens after this that's even more horrific the dead man's?
A death erection, angel lust, rigor erectus, or terminal erection is a post mortem erection, technically a priapism, observed in corpses of men who have been executed, particularly by hanging. So, post death erections are a thing. I don't see why pre death erections continuing couldn't be a thing.
Get a death boner.
It's
As you were
caused
reading all
by.
of those different names,
Uh
I thought
huh.
you were gonna read 5 of those and go, "Which one is the title of the next movie we're covering?"
I would love to watch Rigor Erectus. That sounds rad as hell. That's the name of my next death metal album.
Me and you might write that
I
together.
think we need to. But yes,
As
it
learned
is
from the
because
Netflix Christmas movie Hot Frosty, all you need is a title to start with and the rest will just come.
it is because of pressure in the cerebellum or whatever causing a discharge of blood down to the cockle region. And yes, uh stuff can come out of the penis when that happens. So who knows? Is all I'm saying. I leave that
So you're telling
for that
me when I
charming
get
coroner.
that his father, when he was executed,
Mhm.
probably got a great last meal
Mhm.
and the cum of a lifetime.
Absolutely, he did. No, unfortunately, I don't know that if it works for the
Hanging.
electric chair or only hangings, because that sucks for him, huh?
Well, I mean, it makes autoerotic asphyxiation make more sense that there's like a little something extra pushing
Mhm.
that.
Hell yeah.
So really the worst thing you've done is given me a harder sell
Mhm.
on giving it a go because I've never had any interest at all.
In autoerotic asphyxiation, and now I've put that in your brain.
Yeah, you went on like what you're on the Mayo Clinic journals
That was
reading
just
the
Wikipedia. That
Oh, then it's definitely true.
is definitely true.
Read those cited sources at the bottom. Make sure
Okay,
they're
hold
they're
on. Let
credible.
let me see down here. References. Okay. Uh oh wow, this dates back to 1897.
Oh
Uh
no.
I mean there's also a 1983 peer-reviewed published journal on such happenings.
Okay,
Yes.
as long as it was peer reviewed.
Yeah.
Claire isn't right after this though.
Carol's not
Carol?
okay. She's seen so many people die over her life. And this is the one that seems to have her rattled. Because I guess it's because he was inside her at the time, maybe. Or because she was in the middle of a PTSD flashback and coming at the time.
Well, if you
There's a
remember
lot
in
of
Clerks,
reasons.
the lady who fucks the dead guy in the bathroom does end up in an insane asylum.
Well, maybe that's just a thing that happens when you fuck a corpse. I could see that being mentally very traumatic. Yeah.
Honestly, if you had to rank the worst things that's happened in this woman's life, I don't even know where you'd start. And maybe this is number one
I actually
up
don't
to this
think this
point.
is number one. I don't think it's number one even because I want to point out a thing I forgot to mention earlier is in his own description of his sister, he describes her as sorely undernourished and frequently raped. So this isn't even the worst is it the worst thing? I mean, I guess it's a
With
personal opinion on what is the worst thing that ever happened to you, and clearly this is bad for her.
that description that he gave, I didn't know if we were to take it
Seriously or not?
literally or like
I
if it
don't
was
know.
how he described her job since
I
she's a
don't know.
prostitute, or I
It's
don't know.
hard to say.
It's
It's
honestly doesn't even need to be looked into that much. I don't think this
no,
movie really deserves a thorough breakdown of some of this
probably
bullshit.
not. Mom comes in to
Oh
Gina's
my god.
Carol's room that night, and she finds the twins in a state where she is curled up in his arms, sucking her thumb, while
Hate
he
it.
tells her a bedtime story because she's so
Oh my god.
traumatized by what happened. They got rid of the body, they dumped it in a lake, and they had lit the dude's car on fire. And so now, but well, by the way, they did all this while she still had his blood on her face. Like, it's insane. But yes, point is, she's not able to sleep that night. All the lights are on. It's very strange. I'm like, did you just wake up? Because, like, I don't. Point is, she calls for him. He comes.
The
He's
night
there. She,
terrors go away during the day and the day terrors go away during the night.
yeah, that's literally the advice that he has for her when she's like, "What if I never get over this?" And he's like, "You'll only think about it at night every night for the rest of your life. In the daytime, you probably won't think about it. Bury it deep, deep down inside, sister. That's the way these things should be dealt with."
You hang tight and I'm going to get Laura Palmer's house and we're going to live fat and happy and
For like a
somewhere
year and
else.
a half.
Yeah.
uh, and so mom walks in and sees them in this position, and it's actually the least compromising position she could have caught them in. They had actual sex in this room before,
Mhm.
and you didn't catch them then.
This is actually the
Um,
only time nothing sexy has happened between them at all.
yeah, and mom's mad, and she says they should have killed you. You both should have been strangled at birth. I was like, is this just a thing that happened in the 50s? There was just always a person in the hospital room ready to kill a baby if need be. And she
Different
should have,
times.
and like someone wanted to do it. Someone was like, "Ma'am, these babies, they're gonna turn out to be twincest con men and murderers. We're gonna need to kill them." And she's like, "No, not my babies." And now looking back, she kind of regrets, like, "Oh, I should have taken the guy up on his offer. It's too late for me to kill them now. You're only allowed to kill them when they're infants." And the murder man in the delivery room tells you, "I officially give you the stamp of approval to have these babies murdered." But yeah,
I
mom loses it.
Do you hate this movie?
I can't tell if I hate it or if I enjoyed it immensely, and maybe it was both.
I think you're right. Because the thing at this point, like, I think I mean, we're already pretty far into this podcast for this to go that much longer because there's really only a couple more key scenes in
Yeah, the
this
movie
movie, but there's
starts
still
to
so much left.
so much stuff happens, but actually also, like,
Not
it all happens in the last 30 minutes. Like, I looked at the timestamp and I was like, this can't be right. There's gotta no. They don't have enough time for this, right?
So we get
So,
another
uh,
yelling at mama scene.
yeah, and then Carol puts Mama back to bed, gives her too much morphine. Mama dies,
Blech.
and that solved that problem. Gina packs up some morphine and she heads out of town, leaving a note behind saying, "I'm not going to be at the funeral. I'm in some kind of trouble, and I'm not telling you where I'm going because you would worry,
See
but
you in
don't
a few
worry.
days.
See you in a bit."
She hits a
And
bus to Tijuana.
she is on a bus to Tijuana, and cop shows up at the funeral. That's where we have the "It's about murder." And it's he gets taken in by the cops, and they're like, there's all these dead people." And he's like, "Yeah, what's your point?" And then he's like, "All of them." met your sister at some point. And he's like, yeah, what's your point? And their theory is that uh that the John that she was sleeping with killed the PI for her. And now she and the John have run off together to who knows where. And they insult his sister so many ways. They're like, she's a hooker, she's a bit, yeah, where's the bitch at? And it's really weird that he doesn't rise to the bait here, because I feel like most people, if a cop said like, hey, your sister's a bitch and a hooker, even if you're not having sex with your sister, you'd be like, don't talk about my sister that way. He seems completely unperturbed by what they're saying. Instead, is like, look, I mean, if she shows up, I'll tell her to turn herself in, because clearly this is a misunderstanding, and I want, all this to get cleared up. He manages to convince them that like they're not allowed to tail him or tap his phone or whatever, because that would throw her off. And they're like, yeah, that makes sense, we definitely won't do that, but you better pinky swear promise that if she contacts you that you're gonna call us. And he's like, I pinky swear promise.
I mean, from here, really,
Yeah.
all we get is him going back to Lois's,
Yeah, and
where they
she's
just
like, all right, I caved on the house thing, we're making this happen, my bro's gonna come, and we're gonna get the money
are gonna
from
get
the
money. And in the middle of that, he receives a phone call
from
from
Tijuana.
Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
This scene
Mm-hmm.
may be the craziest thing in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it may very well be. I did not see
The
this coming at all.
So when he finally agrees to take this call from Mexico, the first thing we see as the camera starts to pan to the man on the phone
It was
is
a doctor.
Gina dead, covered in blood on kind of an operating table.
Yeah, and the blood
Kind
is
of.
all in the pelvic region.
And essentially, the doctor is telling him, your sister's dead. To which he says, no, she's not. And he's like, oh, she definitely is, senor.
Uh
and,
She
and
said she was only like 3 months pregnant, but she was actually more like 5 months pregnant. I'm not a back alley abortion doctor. I don't know how much of a difference that makes in your back alley abortions, but apparently it wasn't good, because the procedure did not go as planned.
as he fights with this man on the phone who is assuring him that his sister is dead, and he's like, I don't care, it's not her. The doctor, in quotes, says, I'm paraphrasing here, hey, she's been dead on this table for about 4 days now, and it stinks in here. What do you want me to do with her? To which he says, I don't care. It's not her. Throw her in the ocean. Throw her in the alley for dogs to piss on. It's not my problem.
Which does sort of, how did he find this man's contact information to tell him his sister is dead? Like,
Well,
where
emergency
on.
contact is, it's still a real
Oh, she
doctor.
filled out. You're telling me
Fill out
that
the
for her
forms.
for her illegal abortion, she had to fill out medical forms, including emergency contact.
Well, it
That
was
doctor
either
was
that or
thorough,
he dialed every number in America until he
which is
found
why it
one.
took 4 days. Thank God he started in California.
He's like, Senor, it's hot. She stinks. It's been days. That's insane that he just
Yeah.
left this corpse
On
on the.
the table. First of all, he had no other patients that he needed to bring into this room during that 4 days. He canceled all his other appointments, and yes, he just left her there for 4 days. Apparently, first of all, I mean, good on him. This shows he has quite a reputation as a back alley abortion doctor. That he has never lost a patient before, because clearly he has no idea how to handle this situation.
He looks fucking stressed.
He looks very upset about the whole thing. He is very sad, very stressed, feels terrible, and does not know what to do. And Billy's response is just to just go straight into denial, I guess. Just that's
Well,
not
yeah,
her.
he has crying sex.
Yeah, then he has cry sex, and then he's laying
Thinks about his
there
sister as he cries,
thinking about his
having
sister as
sex
he
with,
cries, having sex with
because
Lois.
this is his new sister.
My new sister wife.
This scene,
And
this is where we close out the movie.
yes. So the bro pulls up outside the beachy cabin, bursts in with a gun, and uh our dude Billy Zane is ready. He has the rifle right there. He just pow shoots the brother multiple times.
Oh, it would have
Lois
painted
is
multiple children.
if only there had been more children to witness it. Uh Lois is laying there, not reacting at all. He goes over to the corpse and pulls out the wallet and sees that it is uh it reads off the man's name, that he's a marine, he's stationed in Hawaii, and then in the wallet are wedding photos of him and Lois. It is not her brother, that is her husband. And
Did it
she
at any point cross your mind, or maybe do you think Billy Zane should have said, "You can marry your sibling"? Like, 'cause do you think there was a point where he's like,
that
"I
was an
fucked around
option?
too long"? Like, where he's
Oh
like,
my
you're a
I
sibling
married the
fucker
woman with
too,
elephantitis. I could have just married my sister.
and been regular happy?"
Uh, no, it did not
No,
cross my mind.
okay, fair, fair,
I'm a
fair.
normal person. So she, cool as a cucumber, suddenly, like, a personality like we've never seen her have before. She's always been crying. She's always been in hysterics. She's always lurching from one emotion to the next. I hate you. I'm sad. I want to fuck you. I'm so confused. And now all of a sudden on the phone, she is 100% calm, cool, collected, in charge. She calls them up. She tells them who she is, that she's an officer, and that there's been a terrible accident, that she was here with an acquaintance, and her husband came in, and they weren't expecting him home, so they thought it was a prowler, and she shot him. And it's a horrible accident. And the whole thing gets swept under the rug because she's a cop, and it seems clear that she is now completely in charge of this relationship. There is a
Oh,
scene where they're
yeah.
about to
Yeah, yeah.
drive off, and he's getting in the driver's side, and she says, "Move over," and he
No, she
slides over
says,
to the
"Move over,
passenger.
bitch," and kicks him in a bush.
Yeah, basically. And he slides over, and she drives the car off into the happy little sunset. And it's in many ways a very satisfying ending, because we started with his father in the exact same position, right, that he ends up in, but also he only ended up in California in the first place because of a corrupt cop, and now a corrupt cop has landed him in this new situation where he's kind of stuck with this woman forever because she's the only one who knows his horrible secret, I guess. Like, clearly she arranged this from the beginning, that she wanted someone to kill her husband, and she found a man that she could convince to kill her husband. And that was her
It
plan
i
from the beginning.
it is nice that a movie twist worked and was
Yeah.
effective. I don't know if it was nice how they had to treat me as a viewer
Mm.
to get to
Yes.
that a good twist. Uh,
Yes.
to put you through such a weird, upsetting hour and a half to get to 5 minutes of a twist.
Mhm.
It I mean, this is like any of the movies we've watched, like the werewolf fucking magician movie,
Mhm,
even like
mhm.
on paper, I'm like, I get it. I get why we're making that. People are gonna have a great time. They're
Yeah,
gonna toss off to
absolutely.
the during a Cinemax time at night. This movie is
I
not to do that to.
No, because I mean, we can get to the central question of were you aroused, Garrett? And the answer is I don't know. Because
Oh
there
no,
were
no, I
parts
know
that
the answer. I can give it a number.
Okay,
I've
give
got
me
a
the
number.
number. Go ahead, give me the
Commandment
number.
-1, baby, section A.
-1 section A, yea, verily, that thou wilt not be aroused by thy sister or by the flaccid penis of her John.
No movie ever has been so horny and
Yes.
off-putting all at once.
Yes. The movie is so horny and you watching it will not be. I mean, there are times where you're like you get a nice flash of boob and you're like, "Ooh, boob." And then something horrifying happens and you're like, "No, no, no, don't have that feeling. Stop it. Stop it."
I mean, it is truly a roller coaster ride, but usually a roller coaster doesn't start with a subvertical drop. Like, it is inverted, like, it's
Yes.
going back further. It's starting you
You
off at
think
such a
you see
high peak.
yes. And then suddenly you are falling backwards.
And then out of nowhere, you're not even on a roller coaster anymore. You're on It's a Small World, and you're like, I think I hate this. I want to get off.
I want to get
But
off. I'm
then
bored.
it shoots you 400 miles an hour straight up, and you didn't
Straight
know
up.
you could go so fast vertically, like straight
No.
up. And it's
The puppets are
this is
still
a
singing at you.
but it also like a universal ride, how you're getting every universal ride, it has to blow a little water at you. There's got to be
Yeah.
somewhere where it missed you. But in this case,
It's
it's like kind of piss. It's like Joker piss.
it's
And it's
also a little bit of blood because a lot of people get blood on their face in this movie.
so
Like it happens multiple times.
were you aroused?
No, it was -1. It's
You're with
commandment
me on
minus
minus one.
one. I mean, like again, I might give it a point 0.5 because there were fleeting moments where I'd be like, "Ooh, booby,"
That zoom
you
in on
know?
that nipple.
Let's zoom in on that nipple, or like when, like I don't know, maybe this is just me personally, but like when he was treating her like shit outside, uh, and was like, "I'm gonna leave you here for the neighbors," and she was like, "Yes, do it." I was like, "Damn, girl, all right, we're getting somewhere." And then, but
Make him earn that $30,000.
yes, make him work. Like, is this gonna be the most perfect relationship of all time because she's into every horrible thing he does? Maybe. Like
I'm
in
taking
those.
notes right now, and for your bachelorette party, a male stripper
Oh
cop is going to kick you into a bush.
no, please don't! I don't want that. I thought it was hot that she was into it, not that I want that to happen to me.
We'll
But
see.
no, like, and the part of their little fun and games section where they're like skeet shooting and like dancing around the house half naked, like that looked fun. But again, it would be so swiftly whiplashed.
As soon as we saw his sister sucking her thumb while she slept,
Yeah,
10 minutes
you
into this movie,
let
my
your penis
penis
crawl up inside you and die.
it didn't go in, but it was as flaccid as that dead man's for the duration of the movie.
You didn't get what was it, rigor erectus from this
Rigor
one?
erect. Yeah. Oh, no, no, it didn't. That was a -1 commandment. Monologue something
Mm-mm.
weird at me. Get your thesaurus out.
I I
Spank me
have to
telling me I'm
say,
trash spit in my mouth.
so disappointed that there were only two yay verilies. Where is my third? Where's my rule of three? There needed to be a third yay verily scene with
If
another
anything were to be
off.
cut for time, it shouldn't have been
Don't should
that.
not have been that.
Yay, verily! Yes! Yes! I am God.
Yeah, he definitely seems to think he is. All right, Garrett, were you thrilled?
I'm gonna give it 2 different numbers for thrills.
Oh, okay.
So, this movie gets a 1, but also maybe a 5.
All right, I'm gonna need you to explain.
Sometimes you're so bored that you're like, "I don't
Hmm.
care what happens, I want this to be over," but it hits you with a 5. It hits you with a
Mm.
5 that, like, eh, it's
Cause
gross, it's icky, your
yeah,
skin crawls a little. I'm never worried about anyone. I wanted
no,
the fact that Billy Zane walks away alive in this movie
it's a
is a
tragedy.
is a is a tragedy. Yeah, it's a crime.
I mean,
But
it's a good thing that at least is now subservient to a woman who has blackmail on him and is going to run his life for the rest of all time. Like that's probably good. But he definitely deserves worse to happen to him. For sure.
it's just the movie gets a little too comforting, but then Billy Zane smacks me in the face
Kicks you into
and
a bush.
kicks me into a bush, and I'm kind of back in. So,
Or he
you know
stabs
what?
one of them paper things through your eye hole. You just never know. It's a roller coaster. That's the whole thing. You're right. Like sometimes it's a small world and sometimes it is the wildest, rattliest roller coaster you've ever been on. And you look at this roller coaster and it is made out of cardboard and scotch tape. Like it doesn't seem like it's gonna hold together. You think you are genuinely going to die on this ride. You do not have any faith that the people who built it have any idea what they're doing.
And you're right. And that what you described is five-star thrills, but
Yes.
five-star thrills aren't always necessarily worth it. That doesn't necessarily mean quality thrills. It's just
No,
the
you're
filmmakers
correct.
made this really confusing movie where, like, the writer, the director, Billy Zane, these people have to be mentally ill to think
Yes.
that this was something anyone wanted or that the world was asking for. I mean,
It's especially wild because there's no like driving force right behind anything that's happening because oh he wants the money. Well, why does he want the money? Because he doesn't want to work at his job anymore. They even said there are multiple newspapers in town and he says himself he has never had trouble getting a job because he is so charming and uses big words. People just and he doesn't take no for an answer. People just throw jobs at him. So, like,
and
what is the major motivation here that you need to do any of this just for $30,000? It's just a thing he wants. It's not a thing that like. And again, it. We only even bring up the house stealing idea well into the movie. Well into the movie. Before that, it is so meandering. And that never even seems like the main plot. That never even seems like the main thing is the getting of the house. Like the description you read at the top makes it seem like they are con artists and this is a thing they do all the time and this is the job that's going awry. And in no way is that what the movie actually feels like as you're watching it. That feels like a movie with a plot. This movie does not have one.
what's your star rating then?
I mean, I was gonna put it at like a 3 for the same reason you gave it a 1 and a 5, but I think you're correct that they should not be averaged together. Those are two separate scores.
It's yeah, it's a this is a movie in its own league. And
Yes.
because it doesn't what is it in that episode of The Office where Gabe has a horror movie that he shows to the office, and I believe he calls it, like, Cinema of the Unsettling, where
Mm.
even the idea of plot is comforting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's like even in some of the opening scenes with Billy Zane, I was thinking that his face looks off somehow. I can't put my finger on it, but something about the way his eyebrows are so perfectly sculpted and his face is so smooth. Like it just felt unnatural from the very beginning. And then the whole movie is similarly unnatural feeling. And I don't mean in the way that like Dick Tracy is unnatural, where it's like, okay, you guys are clearly going for like this over the top, unrealistic vibe. It's no, it's the uncanny valley of movies because it rides the line of being almost a real movie, but then almost not.
Do you think it almost has the vibe of like they would do multiple takes with different tones, but then
Mm,
edited all the different tones
tones
together to make
together.
one movie? Because you're
Hmm.
right, sometimes it's a comedy, sometimes you're dealing with someone dying from a 5-month pregnancy abortion,
Yeah, that
and
you.
but the music is the same. Like the music
Yes.
tone never changes, but the tone of the scene, and that's why, like, I've seen dark comedies where shit is happening in a
Oh, absolutely.
like, have you seen Very Bad Things,
Mm-mm.
where it's a movie of a bunch of guys that accidentally kill a prostitute at a bachelor party, saw her up into pieces, bury her in the desert, and then spend the rest of the movie turning on each other
Mm-hmm.
as in like comedic ways as they're gonna crack and give in, or like World's Greatest Dad, where Robin Williams son dies from autoerotic asphyxiation. He writes the kid's suicide note and
To
basically takes
fake
him
it
down,
as looking like a suicide instead of autoerotic
but
asphyxiation.
he's a
Yeah, yeah,
failed writer, people love the letter, so he basically starts writing as
yeah. Dear Evan Hansen's.
his dead son, yeah. um It's not that. Like, the
No.
the vibe of the darkness of this movie, like I said, it is a crazy person telling you a joke.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It is so very meandering. It doesn't know where it's going, and it is blundering around like a bull in a china shop kind of vibe to it. And that does it make it more thrilling because you don't know where it's going because this is not it is defying all logic of storytelling.
And as far as would I ruin my life for Billy
Yeah,
Zane, I don't think you have a choice. I
apparently
don't think
not.
I have a say. Even if he wants to ruin my life, he's going to.
Well, I mean, Lois turned it back around on him. So like, it's possible to get an upper hand on him.
The last 5 minutes.
Yeah, in the last 5 minutes, and you're gonna get kicked into a bush and slapped around a lot before that happens.
That kick into that bush is fucking amazing. But no, he's so hot. He's so hot. Him and Gina
He's so hot.
Gershon,
I
uh
mean, ruin your life for Gina Gershon. The answer is always yes. Yes, I would do that. Yes, I would. I would do that.
Blanche from the Golden Girls. I mean, take away the weird syphilis, maybe scars or whatever is happening there, and I'm still with Rue McClanahan. Uh, I don't know, man. Like, what are you? Were you ruining for anybody in this one?
I'm not ruining my life for anyone that is my actual anyone that is my sibling. That is simply not going to happen. The intense feelings of automatic disgust are too strong. But if Gina Gershon was not my sister, things might be different. But in this scenario, she would be. So no, I would not ruin my. I can't ruin my life for my to fuck my twin. I can't. I can't do it. I can't ruin my life to fuck my twin. I won't do it. I'm not one of the Lannisters. I don't
All
get
right.
it. I'm not a twin. I don't have whatever weird twin telepathy kind of thing. And like twincest I feel like is always a sort of metaphor because the idea is like you're so self-centered, the only person you really want to fuck in this world is yourself. And that is not a metaphor I want to represent me. So, no.
So no.
No.
Overall, though, do we recommend this one? I think that's the hardest question, and I think the
That's
answer has
tough.
to be yes, because it's
Yeah, it
something to
does.
behold.
You should watch it with other people. It be a little high even, I would say, because then the roller coaster is going to feel even more jagged. as
I
it
don't
lurches
know.
you
I mean,
around.
I'm a
You
sober
think it'd be
person,
yeah,
and it was still
pretty wild?
like in the days that I did get high like this, I don't know what that would have done for me. Like
You know what? That's true. Maybe it would go poorly.
it's two I mean, it would be two fully different experiences, but with similar bad vibes. Overall, this is just it's in a league of its own. It is I can't say like I loved this movie, but I probably won't forget it.
Yeah, no, that's why I said I think I hated it, but I also enjoyed it. I
I
I have
think
such mixed emotions. I'm like Lois, just I can't figure it out how I feel about you, Billy Zane.
I just don't know how this movie has never been something that's crossed my path before. It seems like this movie's so insane that somebody would have talked about it.
Well, how much
I
did it
haven't
make at the box office?
$51,000.
$51,000. And how much did did
Titanic,
Titanic
2.2
make?
billion.
$1 billion. Yeah, so I think everybody was talking about a different Billy Zane movie at the time.
Well, it's crazy because even Gina Gershon had a second movie this year too in '97. She was in Face Off.
Oh shit, I forgot she was even in that. Yeah.
So they both had big movies come. I mean, obviously one of the biggest of all time, and the other is just a very beloved movie for us. Uh,
Mhm.
but I don't know, man. Hey, guys, thanks for listening this week.
Yeah.
At Erotic Thriller Club on Instagram, Erotic Thriller Club at gmail.com if you have any questions, comments, concerns.
Yeah, hit us up with likes, comments, subscribes, all that good stuff. It really helps us out and it makes us feel good. It warms our hearts.
Yeah, if you're on yeah, please. If you're on Apple, leave a
Mhm.
review.
Yeah.
If you're on YouTube, definitely click like, leave a comment, something. It's bumping us back up in the algorithm. The numbers are starting to come back from our naughty ones that apparently knocked our algorithm down. So try not to curse in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah,
But
you did terribly at that this time.
it's not true. It's not true. I was watching the time. I know where I was. As always, thank you for listening. We love you. Never stop following commandment -1, section
Mhm.
A. Wet your snails. We want to shake you naked and eat you alive.